So this screencast is to show one way to hook up your RGB LED using the breadboard. I'll be sharing a photograph of how I hooked up my RGB LED by directly attaching it to the Arduino. So this is a common cathode RGB LED. So we're going to take a jumper cable and go from the cathode to the ground. I'll make that black wire. And then the rest of these are going to get their power from the ports on the LED on the Arduino. And we're going to go from 10 to the leftmost leg, which is red. So I'm actually going to color that red. It'll be useful. And then from 10 to the next one, which is blue. It tells me when I hover over the lead on the RGB LED. So this guy right here must be green. All right, so this should do something fancy if we add some code. Currently, the standard code is blink, and so I need to get rid of that. I'm just going to go to text. Blocks is the default, and that's really nice for a visual way to write your own code. But what I'm going to do is delete this here, and I'm going to go to the classroom where I uploaded where there are some code that I made that work with the RGB LED. You can use the built-in ones, but they didn't work for me. So I found this code and I put it there. So if you click here, it will take you to the Arduino editor where you can click here and it will actually take you to the web editor and you could be, uploading this to your Arduino. But what I'm going to do is copy it. I press Control C on my computer. And then I'm going to Tinkercad, and that's where I'm going to paste it. Control V to paste. And so now I have some RGB LED code in there, and I'm going to start the simulation. And this doesn't like my code here. And this could be because I have the wrong LED in here, and this is the other code. So one of this code is for the common anode, and one is for the common cathode, and I haven't figured out which one is which yet. But it really should work with either one, so I actually don't know what's going on here. Oh, and that blew out my LED, and they wanted me to put some resistors in there. So this one right here is the one that connects to the ground, or I'm trying to move that. Is the one that connects to the ground if it's a common anode, which means this is the cathode. Oh, sorry. So this is going to connect to the ground if it's like the RGB LED that is in the Tinkercad component list. But the one that I had in my kit was the opposite type. So what I had to do is take this which was in the ground, and instead of plugging it into the ground, I plug it in over here for 5-volt power with the resistors. Actually, I plugged it into 3.3 volt, which is why I didn't seem to need the resistors. Nothing blew out with the 220 without any resistors in there. So if you build this for real and it doesn't light, it is because you have the other kind of RGB LED, and I think they're different depending on which kit you picked up. So if this doesn't work for you and you don't get power, you're just going to take this ground and you're going to plug it into the positive power instead of the ground. And that should be enough to get this guy lit up if you add the code. Now, if you're doing this, if you don't have the Arduino kit and you're doing this with 100% Tinkercad option, you're going to do another circuit showing intermediate screenshots of your work to get credit for the second part of this project, which is to actually build this and show it working. Here we have a photograph of how my RGB LED was set up. It turned out to be a common cathode RGB LED. And so that required that this one longer lead, the 3 here for the RGB color input, are all the same length, but this one's a little longer. And so that one is the one that we're going to either plug into the ground or the 5-volt power. And you can't tell the difference between these LEDs until you do this. And so it was kind of a far reach. I had plugged it directly in there by bending this one outward. I had put it into the ground right there on the same side of the Arduino as these RGB leads, but it didn't function. So then I took it out of the ground, and it was a bit of a far reach across the board. So I put a jumper cable in there, and then all I had to do was put these jumper cables together and touch them together, and it was functioning very nicely. I just put the copper tape on there. It could be any tape to hold them together, but you could plug into a breadboard for that as well.